talking about what you want to talk about, Dale. So grab your shirt a little bit and be like, I'm the buzz driver. So I'm going to plug this bowl with my nugget and drive this buzz all the way to Funky Town.
Welcome back to the Not Televised Revolution, the only news and politics show on the internet that can and will take you to Funky Town.
The only news show on the internet that calls itself comedy because we just can't write them like that.
Yeah, it's been an insane couple of weeks, and I'm sorry that I left you without a strong beat to step to. Um, it's just been super nuts, guys. There's like 30 stories I want to cover, but as we do here at the Not Televised Revolution, we want to cover stories that aren't covered by everyone else.
Or if they are, they have like blazing inaccuracies.
Right,
Easy stuff.
right.
People,
Yeah.
children can stuff that children can pick out.
Well, yeah, stuff that idiot comedians like Jimmy Dore can pick out. Um, and he totally admits it. Like when he says that, it's the truth, and it makes you feel good. It makes you feel like a human. Like, holy crap! If this guy
It
is doing
does.
it from his garage, maybe I can do it.
Yeah. I mean, I say it myself too. Like I'm not a brilliant man, but something tells me that. And then, I say that a lot.
All right, so I wanna fly through this real quick because I think it's really important for people to understand that if you have oh yeah, here we go. if you have if you have a Christian Trump supporter, you need to really rail them because they are effed up. They are effed up. Um, let's see. Give me a second here. Doomed to you. Okay, these are multiple translations of Isaiah 10:1 something. Doomed to you who legislate evil, who you have the links, who make laws that make victims. All right, doomed to you who legislate evil. And you're a Christian and a Trump supporter? Come on. Come on. Come on. Jesus is a socialist. And I'm going to make the point with the book, with multiple translations of the book. Doomed to you who legislate evil, who make laws that make victims, laws that make misery for the poor, that rob my destitute people of dignity. All right. Rob my destitute people of dignity. Like private for profit prisons? Like, uh, three strikes and you're outlaws? Like, making marijuana illegal, which everyone smokes, but only black people get locked up for it? Exploiting defenseless widows, taking advantage of homeless children? Okay, so right here, exploiting defenseless widows. Is Jesus saying that he's pro choice? Am I wrong?
Exploiting defenseless widows. That's like I wouldn't say that that's anything about pro-choice.
Okay, maybe it's
That's like
about
that's like
childcare. Maybe it's about
well,
childcare. Because,
it's
like,
about elder care.
oh,
It's
okay.
about taking care of your elderly. Widows, generally speaking, the old woman whose husband died, and particularly back in the day, the people that got to very much advanced age, by and large, were women. So, like that was you know exploiting widows is kind of that's
Okay.
talking about that's still don't exploit the weak.
I suppose that was 2,000 years ago, and widows were more likely the result of the man dying. What will you have to say on Judgment Day when Doomsday arrives out of the blue? Who will you get to help you? What good will your money do? Ooh, nice. A sorry sight you'll be then, huddled with the prisoners, or just some corpses stacked in the street. Even after all this, God is still angry. His fist is still raised, ready to hit them again. Wow.
Yeah. Um,
Sounds
the
like sounds
Go
like
ahead.
God wants us to take care of each other.
It's it's uh it's pretty freaking blatant, you know. I mean, it really is. You know, love your neighbor. That's pretty. That's pretty. That's pretty over the top there. You know, love your neighbor. You know, um, that's pretty simple. I'll even take it a step further. And I mean, I don't have the links, but
Won't
I
you take
think
me down to Funky Town?
I'm gonna take you down to Funky Town. Personally, I think Jesus was an anarchist, and I can
Yeah,
prove it when I can prove it when he says when you know
and we're gonna
they're
talk about
asking
that
him about
soon too.
taxes, and he goes and he's like, "Give me that coin." He's like, "Whose face is on this coin?" Caesar's. Okay, well then give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar, but you give to God what belongs to God. And then he points at the horizon. He's, "Whose face is on that?" And that was pretty much it. He said that those two things are entirely unrelated. Like, so I would say that he was as much against the state. I mean, they killed him.
Yeah, no, he
You
was
know,
he
they
was
killed him, and 300 years later,
he was
um,
what I like to call a real anarchist or a true anarchist from
yeah,
my
he was
perspective.
just like, I'm gonna do what I want to do, regardless of what they do,
It's not
and they killed him.
libertarian. It's not something even talked about in today's culture.
Not really.
Like what actual anarchy? That's what I call it. Actual anarchy. Like
Yeah, not really. It is just, do what you will do
right.
and
As long as you don't hurt no one.
leave, yeah, and stay out of other people's lives. Judge or
Yeah.
not, stay out of somebody else's life. Judge not. That's pretty simple. That's what they do over there. That's not your fucking problem. Just
All right.
deal with your life.
So we're touching upon what could be a whole nother episode.
Totally.
So
But anyway, I'm just saying. I totally agree that he was talking about that he was talking about caring for your neighbors and everything like that. But I don't. I would tend to believe that Jesus had a problem with the entity of a state in some way, considering the fact that a state came along and killed him. Just saying.
man, I don't want to rush things too hard, but yeah, no, that's amazing. I mean, Jesus was the greatest hippie ever, and it's amazing that
I don't
it's
know the guy.
amazing. It's amazing.
I only
Well,
know
I
what the people
suppose
that killed him wrote about him.
I supposedly do know the guy. Um,
Well, yeah.
supposedly, yeah. Uh,
I mean, to some extent, you do. You know what's right.
I suppose
You
right
have a
now I
you
have
have a
to bring up the
relationship with.
point that uh okay, this has a lot to do with my fight with my mother on the internet. All right, I will fight you on the internet, but not in real life. She would probably actually kick my ass, um, even though she's like 70. Um,
I feel that my mom
it,
would rock my world too.
if you're a social if you're a Jesus freak and you don't support socialism, you got a whole lot of cognitive dissonance going on. You got, man, so
I
much
would
confusion.
argue that the translation that I see, what I call,
Did you pull up my link?
I, I did.
Okay.
hated. Um, I call Republican Jesus. I can't say that I can't with a straight face say that Republican Jesus is the same thing that I read about because I don't know, maybe we're reading a different book or something. I don't know because like I mean it's it I have a very different take on on what I read to um to what I call Republican Jesus, who is talking about God hates fags and blah 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 blah. And I don't know if that's true of a lot of large portions, but I've seen
I
huge.
doubt it. I doubt it. If you look into how many people have had the translations in their hands, King James the Sixth, like, do you trust him?
I don't trust Peter. I mean,
Ah, that's
I
interesting.
honestly don't. If I could be completely frank, I don't trust a guy who probably lived 300 years after the fact.
I'm
And
not
if I
sure that you
did,
can be completely frank.
well, you know, I'll be Bob for now, and then now I'm Frank. So, Frank I am, and frankly, I I I don't I don't trust the Catholic Church. I don't trust the Oedipus that was created after the fall of Rome. I don't trust the Roman Empire. I still believe that all roads lead to Rome. Still, in the end, I think that that old world, the that isn't gone. I don't really have a lot of evidence to base that on, but I mean, if I
You could have
keep
said it better, but I get what you're saying. Like, the old ways are not gone.
the
Like,
old ways, the old families, that
yeah,
old power, those old
yeah.
halls of power that existed 1200 years ago, I'm not sure they're
No,
completely gone.
I
I'm
don't
pretty
think
sure
so
they
either.
aren't.
I don't think so either. Um,
I'm pretty sure they aren't.
I'm
And I
just gonna
don't
read
trust
one
them.
more. Yeah, we shouldn't. I'm just gonna read one more Bible verse. I know. Okay, yeah, you can see it because I sent you the link. These are all different translations. Woe! Judgment is coming to those who issue evil statutes and those in power who constantly record unjust and oppressive decisions, so as to deprive the needy of justice and rob the poor of my people of rightful claims. That's Jesus being a badass motherfucking socialist.
Yeah,
I mean, that's straight from the scripture.
absolutely.
It really
I
is.
I my favorite quote is that which you have done to the least among you
Yes.
is what you have done to me.
Yes. Yes. All right, we covered that. I mean, that was an important thing to cover. With the last couple of weeks being jam packed with crazy news like Iceland or Greenland melting, the Amazon on fire. There was so much news that we missed, and I apologize. If you're looking to us for news, but what you're really here for is the commentary and the comedy, probably. Um, But we have a great example of commentary coming up. Democratic socialism versus social democracy. Do you want to say anything off the top before I get started reading articles?
No, go ahead. I
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Click in your Discord and click on the one that says Democratic Socialism.
Yep. I'm here.
All right. I'm not. There we go.
Oh,
Okay.
wait.
Uh,
Was that a particular moment that you had freaking set up?
No, not really. I mean, we jam. That's why I call it a jam.
Okay, well, um,
Wow,
because if you
this
added
is
a particular
shite.
time mark, I would totally like mess that up. So,
Yeah, no doubt. I would have to be playing drums to demand a time marcation. Uh, digital or physical. Um, Democratic socialism. Wow, this is really thin. Let's see. I thought there would be a definition here. I'm on Merriam-Webster, and there's not an actual definition here. I hear crickets.
I
Here we go. All right,
democratic socialism.
here we go. Any member of a class of words that typically can be combined with determiners to serve as the subject of a verb can be interpreted as a singular or plural, can be replaced with a pronoun or refer to an entity, state, action, or concept. All right, this is gaslighting.
Here's the definition.
Read
Here's the
it.
definition: a political movement advocating a gradual and peaceful transition from capitalism to socialism by democratic means. And two, a democratic welfare state that incorporates both capitalist and socialist practices.
Right,
Two definitions there.
right,
There.
and in anarchist circles that you and I bump into occasionally, if we're lucky, there's an argument about reformist versus revolutionary, and this democratic socialism would be considered the more reformist. Am I right?
Yes, it is more of a reformist version of it.
Of
Um,
revolution.
well, yeah, I mean it's to well we're not doing away with the structures. We're keeping the structures in place, and we're just trying to get more of our piece of the pie,
Yeah.
which I don't necessarily disagree with. I mean, if we're trying to build something kind of cool, which society is kind of a cool thing, I think that we get things out of it. We try to build something kind of cool, but we're just not getting our share as the worker class. So, we get angry about it. And if we continually not get our share, if we continually get shafted, why do you think what do you think's going to happen?
Right.
Well, I tell you what's going to happen. What's going on? It's crazy. It's nuts. It's all freaking coming apart at the seams because people feel shafted, basically.
Um. Okay. So, Bernie Sanders calls himself Democratic Socialist when he's really a social democrat. But can I get you to touch on that for a minute?
Social social democrat and democratic socialist are pretty much two different ways to approach.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, they're two different ways. They're synonyms. They mean in essence the same thing.
Sort of, but a different approach is what I would say. Like one being reformist and one being revolutionary.
Yeah, true. That's true. Yes, that that is true.
Um. So yeah, we got a lot to talk about today. Man. So that brings me to the point that I sent you on some kind of message that like Bernie is smart enough to call himself a, a democratic socialist, right? Even though he knows the difference. And he does use the word revolution. So I just kind of thought maybe that'd be interesting to talk about and think about for a second. Maybe Bernie really does want the revolution, and that's why he chose his words. I mean, he's smart
It's
enough.
it's possible. It's possible that he really that in his heart of hearts he feels that dismantling it is the only way to go. Um, I mean, if there's somebody playing 4D chess out there, I don't believe it's Trump. Just
Right.
yeah, I would find Bernie Sanders to be a little bit more believable. Although I'm kind of I think unless he's seeing plays that I don't that are like 2, 3 moves out further than where I'm from where I'm sitting, like um, which is possible. I admit that. Like there were a couple of plays that he could have played a completely different way and came with some completely different results, and I think would have been beneficial to him. But you know, as I said, he could be seeing a couple of moves out that I don't. It's possible. It's completely possible that he just um, that he I wouldn't mind the system dismantling necessarily.
Well, it's already happening. So, on that note, it's time for your segment. Lead the
Um,
way. TheAtlantic.com.
TheAtlantic.com. That was
Okay.
I found this article to be incredibly interesting, and we're gonna put this one in the notes because I can only really touch on some of the stuff that they're talking about. I'm sure that we're what you I'm sure that you guys have heard about Brexit by now, and of course the possible suspension of Parliament. Um, just to calm everybody down a little bit. It's all in conjecture and rumor and freaking
Don't
people
freak
are
out. Don't freak
yeah
out.
it's okay. Like at this moment, it's not actually a constitutional crisis. They're not actually doing anything right now.
Mm.
They just floated the idea that they might. And I hear all kinds of crazy stuff come out of politicians all the time. So, I don't necessarily think that I'm going to believe this one per se because, it would be a pretty seismic move if he actually gives the advice to suspend Parliament. By law, the Queen is theoretically bound to take his advice and suspend Parliament and and uh, and 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 then allow. But then it gets really complicated when over there because their system is very very different from ours. The Queen, who knows what kind of power she has? Theoretically, she just sort of gives her power over to the House of Commons, and they choose their ministers. Now the Prime Minister gives advice to the Queen that she's technically bound to follow. And if Boris Johnson gives the advice to suspend Parliament, then that'll trigger an election pretty much right in the middle of Brexit. But it'll give Johnson
Oh
what he
shit.
wants. But it'll give Johnson what he wants, which is a suspended Parliament at the time of the deadline, and the deadline is pretty much solid. Nothing's going to happen out of the UK, so they just exit the EU with no deal or anything like that, which he's like, well, with or without a deal, we are out the 31st of October. So I mean, it's kind of like just the fact that he suggested that he might do it might actually get Parliament to like think about what they're doing and maybe doing something because they haven't done anything except no, we're not going to do that. No, we don't want to. Pretty much the entire time. I don't know. It
Whew.
is it is the strangest thing. If he does it, then Boris will have.
I feel like I should put up a screensaver. No, I'm just
Okay,
gonna put up my mug.
if he does it, and I'm not over, of course, in the UK, but from the outsider's perspective, if he does it, the Prime Minister will suspend democracy so that he can follow through with the will of a vote of a referendum.
I'm
Suspend democracy,
I'm still
do what
confused.
the voters want.
I'm still confused. You know, especially for the listeners
No,
and
it's
my poor brain.
I'm not. You're not the only one that's confused. So am I.
Yeah.
If he does it, Boris will suspend democracy to deliver on a democratic vote, to deliver on Brexit,
What?
which they voted to do. The
Who voted?
the UK, they voted to leave the EU.
Right.
So they're going to leave the EU,
But
and
who
if
voted to
Boris
suspend it?
to who voted to what?
To take it back? Who's trying to take it back? Who's trying to take back the
Like
Brexit?
everyone in Parliament, like
Do you think
everyone,
it's
including
because they
Theresa
might be
May, the,
do you think
including
it might
Theresa
be
May,
do you think it might be because they're corrupted?
possibly. It's it's that's a possibility, but at the same time, I mean Boris Johnson. I mean, he even looks like Trump. He is the poster boy for corrupt. Like that's his name. That's his middle. That's his nickname. Boris Corrupt Johnson. That's
Damn.
like, that's him. that so I mean, yeah. The but if he suspends Parliament, he will have suspended democracy
Right.
so that Parliament can't bicker over Brexit anymore and just leave
That's
without
a really crucial and important point that you wanted to bring up, and I'm glad you did. This is hard to find news, and that's what we pride ourselves on here at the Not
and in
Televised.
so doing, it's a constitutional crisis in all directions. If he doesn't do it, he's in a constitutional crisis. He's walks into a constitutional crisis, and then starts saying, well, fuck it. I guess we can throw 3, 4, 5 more in
Yeah. Set a precedent. Get it
there.
going.
Like, let's do some constitutional crises. It's weird. It's really
I
strange.
gotta admit that I at first I didn't understand how you could laugh at the insanity, but what else can you do?
What else can you do? You see this? These are the jokes that I'm talking about, man. I couldn't have written that.
Yeah,
Could you have written that? The
yeah.
Queen suspends democracy to deliver on the will of the people.
Well, that's it
What?
for today, guys. I want to keep it short enough for people to actually click on it, my dude. I'll keep recording and hanging out with you, of course. The conversation is over. Or, I'm sorry, the episode is over, but the conversation will
Conversation.
never end. Okay, buttons and stuff.
Buttons and
Buttons
stuff.
and stuff. Buttons and buttons and buttons and stuff. Hang on. I'm keeping this in for sure. Alright, everyone. Thanks for listening. Bye bye.